Okay, so today I wanted to talk a bit about love and the lack of it at boarding school, and just a brief video just talking about some ideas. So, thank you. So yeah, I prepared another talk, to be honest. Prepared a talk about, we've got the elections tomorrow. I was talking and preparing some ideas about our leaders and how that links into boarding school and being selfish. But I decided actually to talk about love today. As I was looking through my notes, I came across something that Julia Samuel, the psychotherapist, when she was interviewing Charles Spencer, she said, love is more important than food. And I just thought, wow, that's really, really powerful. And she was talking about that in relationship to Charles being sexually abused, being at boarding school. And his reply was, there was no shadow of feminine care in the school. And I think this is so important for us just to stop and acknowledge that there was no love in boarding school. Yes, the people there might have cared for us. They might have been good people, but they weren't our parents. They weren't our siblings. They didn't love us. They might have cared. But what she's saying here is love is more important than food. And as we know, many people at boarding school, David Cameron, others, they didn't even really get food. David Cameron lost a stone in weight, First year for me, I often was in physical pain because I had tummy ache, because I wasn't eating very well. Also kind of reflecting about George Monbiot in an article he wrote, and I'll put it into the description, you can read it in The Guardian. He says, if there are two things that being sent to boarding school teach you, they are that love cannot be trusted and that you should never admit to needing help. So, that's pretty shocking. Love cannot be trusted. And yet what Julia Samuel's saying is love is more important than food. So I just see that love is so important. I'm studying and I'm creating a course at the moment about leadership, and one of the modules, it says the key thing about leadership is love. That's the secret kind of the secret to great leadership is love. But if we are teaching our leaders to say, to learn that love cannot be trusted and that there is no love in these places, then we're not really creating great leaders. And yeah, so I think if you notice that, oh, right, yeah, there was no love there. What can we do is now we start to heal by learning to love ourselves. When we mess up, when we're tired, when, don't feel good, we're gentle with ourselves, we're loving. We stop. We have these workaholic tendencies as ex-boarders that we keep going. It's like, no, stop. Be gentle. Love ourselves. Be around people who are loving, who are securely attached where we can. Fill ourselves up. This is so important if we didn't get that love, and whether that's childhood trauma, family, but, especially boarding school. This idea that, we weren't loved in these environments. So, the election is tomorrow. And, I was reflecting about that, about being selfish, that a lot of our leaders, because of the trauma they've been through, they've learned to disappear inside themselves. And really, what's most important is their needs and those of their friends, not to the greater collective, because as we know, if you've been to boarding school, we've disappeared inside ourselves in order to survive. We couldn't rely on anyone else to help us. So we become independent. But actually, in a position of power, we have to be dependent. We have to connect with those that we are leading. And I feel there's a real disconnect with that. On next few weeks, I spoke to Jay Marshall, who's setting up this thing called Safe Kids Spaces, which is about online safety for children. And he was saying, he's worked in Formula One for 30 years, saying how, they'll get things done really, really quickly, hours or minutes, like, because they need that for the race. He says going into politics, into, local councils, nothing gets done. It's just, it takes years, and he's just saying, when they do something like the online safety bill, nothing happens. ICSA says nothing happens. And so this really needs to change. So I feel moving forward, this thing about love, we need a new form of leadership. We need emotional intelligence. And I think it's going to be to all of us to step up, not just one or two leaders. No, we need everyone to step up. If we do the inner work, then we can be great leaders. That's what Nick Duffell talks about in our documentary. That's what Martin Lloyd-Elliott talks about in our documentary. When we do the inner work, then we can be great leaders. So, we can bring that love in. So this Friday, I've got a podcast with Bryn Edwards, who is based in in Western Australia. And he's talking about his journey of boarding school, path of healing, psychology, and that's fascinating. The week after is episode 100, which is wonderful, with Kimberly Best, and that's talking about conflict resolution, and so that's really fascinating. And then Jay will be in the week after that. So thank you so much for listening. And just some ideas. Love is more important than food. To really see that how can I can bring that to the top now in my life. If I didn't get it as a child, most of us didn't. How do I bring that love in now? Be gentle, be loving, saying kind words. You've got this, I can do this. It's like loving ourselves. We are worthy of that. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening. Take care.